testimony, and I gotta let you know on the Witness Spot.
Welcome to the Witness Spot podcast, where we interview our guests about the amazing things that God has done for them in their lives and how He has kept them throughout their struggles. I'm Thomas.
And this is Gabby.
And we're the hosts of the Witness Spot. Let's get into it.
Thank you for joining us. We have a guest on our show today. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you.
You bet. Hi, I'm Heidi Vermeer-Quist, and I am just, blessed to join you today. I'm a Christian psychologist out here in central Iowa and get to work a little bit with Gabby as I present Gardening Your Life as well, and excited to share my story a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you could you tell us a little bit of your spiritual journey?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up not too far from your studio, about an hour southeast in a little town called Pella, Iowa, very Dutch community. Grew up going to church. By and large, that was something that I have to be very thankful for. It was a pretty safe community with a real focus on Jesus. I came to know him probably, I remember in Sunday school thinking, I think I believe in this Jesus. And I remember praying during a spelling bee in elementary school because I was so nervous. And I truly felt like a peace just come over me. And I ended up getting the word right. Yeah. That's all I remember about that, because I think I didn't get the next one right. But, just things like that where I just had an increased awareness too of his presence in my life. Super helpful to me going through the junior high years and high school years and some of that. And knew that in my profession, which became pretty apparent that that I wanted to help people. And it was kind of a humble deal because I knew I was a piece of work myself. I had lots of broken issues myself, which I think a lot of times God, uses those of us who already are so broken to then hopefully come alongside, right? Because we know that we're not going to fix anybody else, but we're going to do our darndest to try to point them to the one who can and hopefully be able to support them and encourage them. And so I got my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I went to a great faith-based program out of Wheaton College. So it was great integration of looking at people from a biblical perspective and also drawing from what are the best practices in the field of psychology and theology. And so that was great training. And then the last, 20 years or so, I've been practicing as a clinical psychologist here in central Iowa.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a long story now. I just turned 50. And so.
Oh, wow.
I know. You think I'm 30, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
No, seriously, yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. You just got points from me. No. Yeah, no, it's just wild. But God is so good, and I'm excited. I'm thankful that you even want me to share. So,
of course. Yeah. Tell us your experience with God in your life.
So I think that a lot of times we just we know that we're following Jesus. We know that we're doing our devotions. We're trying to dig into the Word and learn about Him. We're following Him, and yet I think I know for myself, I like to actually plan a lot of things, and I think I've had a sense of a feeling as though I had more control over my life than I ever did, and so the Lord has been teaching me a lot about letting go, and He still is, because I'm still I just say I'm a recovering control freak and I think most people are. I think you're either a control freak or you're a recovering one. I think that's so true. But I was really blessed that right after finishing up my degree and starting out as a Christian psychologist, I was hired by actually my Sunday school teacher, 8th grade Sunday school teacher, who I had that was sort of the year that I was starting to think, I don't know, I guess you start to think about, what do I want to do the rest of my life when you're like in junior high and high school, And he was the coolest. Like we would leave church and go do Sunday school outside. And he would listen to our feelings. We could actually talk to him about things. I felt like up until my Sunday school class with him, I was being sort of more talked at, which wasn't bad. But I felt like he more listened to us and encouraged us in our faith. So that connection, and he's still my mentor. His name is Cal. And so then I job shadowed him in high school, and even then sort of felt more and more this draw of, I could totally do your job. Like not in an arrogant way, but like this fits, Whereas I tried other jobs through high school and in college that, and even like retail. I worked at Family Christian Store when that used to be a thing, and I realized retail that's not my thing. So went into this profession and then I ended up working for him. So my first job out of grad school was, I came back to my hometown. Well, actually I moved into the Des Moines area because I didn't want to be too close to Pella. And he saw a vision, and I was very excited about this, to start a clinic in Des Moines. So started working for him in Pella, but then he and I developed this clinic in Des Moines, Christian clinic, part of a big network in the Midwest that has a whole bunch of clinics out of Michigan area. And we were like one of 20 of their outpatient Christian mental health clinics. The one in Pella was developed probably around the year I was born, like in the mid 70s, and then started to develop the one up here in Des Moines in 2002. And I was going to be a lifer at this job because I loved Cal and his team, and they provided me the best supervision. We kept Jesus at the center. We would come together every staff meeting and pray for each other, do devotions, pray for our clients, come together and talk about, where we were stuck in some of our cases. It was really, really good. And I was pretty convinced that this was where God wanted me. And he did. Obviously, I was there for like 15 years. But about 14 years into it, I just felt this stirring that things were coming to an end with this organization. I just was feeling, actually my boss Cal was encouraging me to keep stepping up, and maybe I was going to assume his role. But as I looked at the bigger organization, I feel like it was such a blessing that God sort of gave me eyes to see that they, while a good organization, great organization, they had their own things going on in Western Michigan, and they weren't really investing in us in Iowa. And we were the boots on the ground here, so we knew what could be. I saw the needs that could grow, and we would go to the leadership, and it was just sort of like time after time hitting our head against a brick wall for a while. And over time, like resentment was really building in me. And I just felt real conflicted because here I love this team. I have committed. It almost felt like, you're part of a church, or I'm married. I almost felt like almost a marriage almost to this community. And but still this stirring of something is changing. Like the winds, it just felt like winds are changing here. And so I was talking to Cal, which again is just to me like confirmation of the good relationship that he and I have had. But he was always willing to kind of hear my heart on this. And at the same time, he felt very much like aligned with, no matter what this organization does, I'm aligned with them, but I also hear what's going on for you with the Lord. So that year, which was 2016, two things happened that I would say to God's glory sort of pushed me to take some steps of faith. First of all, I helped with this concert. Some people may have heard of Michael W. Smith. He came into the Des Moines area and gave a concert, and I helped with organizing that as kind of a fundraiser and a prayer focus. And a person who was traveling with him was praying over those of us who were organizing, and he prayed over me, and he said, I have a prophetic word for you, which is you're going to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm already part of this organization, and I know, and we're building a clinic, and, you know, maybe it just means like I'm really going to build out, you know, more of Pine Rest, which is the name of the clinic I used to be a part of. But I just had this sense of, I think it's different, you know? And then a few months after that, I went to this place where I often say at this ranch that I go to with ever since I was 6. My dad took us, our family, and I've been there in the middle of Colorado, and you ride horses, which is something I grew up doing, and went on this horseback ride. And it was kind of a retreat ride that I had signed up for. And again, it was that same year, 2016. And the gal leading the ride said, I want you to just really look at anything unique that God might bring to your attention. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to look really closely, you know. Well, we went down this one path that I've been down at this ranch that I've gone to since I was 6, like probably hundreds of times by that now. And it's usually nothing, like it's just familiar. It's beautiful. Well, on the path, right at the beginning of the ride, right after she says that, this huge, and I had to look it up, like this huge group of butterflies. I was like, what is that a group of butterflies called? It's called this is really cool. It's called a kaleidoscope.
Oh.
I know, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like a flock.
Right.
I was like, I don't think it's a flock. What is it? You know, it's a kaleidoscope, which is super cool. Kaleidoscope of butterflies, like truly, like, I don't know, so many. I've never seen that many butterflies at one time, especially at that ranch. And it was just like, I have to fly. I have to go. Yeah, it was real weird. It was really weird. And so I ended up coming back, and I told Cal about that, my mentor, and it had actually a really smooth transition out of that organization, but then started my own practice just by myself. And I didn't know where I was going to land for that either. And just at the last moment, one of my clients, she was asking me how it was going as I was making a transition out into my own practice. And I said, it's fine, but I'm not sure where to land. I really feel like the Lord is wanting me to maybe start it out of a church. So there were a couple of churches I was talking to, and I was sort of feeling like I was hitting my head against some brick walls there too. And she turned to me and said, in just this wisdom, well, Heidi, you know, God is never late, but he is rarely early. And I was like, yeah, yep, that's good. and it was really cool because it was probably like a week after she said that this one pastor that I had planted a seed with probably 9 months before that about wanting to do, well, it wouldn't have been 9 months, but several months before that, after I saw the butterflies, you know, and he called and he said, are you still looking for a place? And I was like, absolutely I am. And so found my landing spot in January of 2017, but had to learn all the things that go with having your own business as a mental health practitioner, which, you know, you got to know healthcare. You have to figure out billing. You have to figure out the coding. You have to get insured. You have to, all those things. And the Lord was just really faithful through it, though I seriously was a mess. It was such a hard year. It was like I went back to school after 20 years, and it was school of hard knocks for sure. You know, my husband was just like, what can I do to help you? And I'm like, you can't do anything because I have to do it myself. Just pray for me, you know, and he was great in being that to me, and then gradually helping me a little bit more once I was getting settled. And then, no joke, just when I was starting to get a sense of, okay, I understand how to run this business. It took me like 11 months, I feel like. It took almost that whole year. Cal calls me and says, so the Pine Rest has decided to leave the Iowa or the Des Moines area. And I could tell he was pretty broken about it. And so I was sad, but there was just this deep sense of like I knew that was going to happen, you know? And I didn't realize it was going to be that quick though. That was like really quick, less than a year after I'd left. And so it was very much like the Lord had a plan for our clinic, but just it was going to get like reborn. And so we established then, like 6 months later, we established Heartland Christian Counseling. May 1 of 2018. And then 2 years later, right in the middle of COVID, he basically handed over the Pella Pine Rest Clinic, which we run that one as well, which is why I'm often coming here from Pella to do the podcast with you. So those 2 clinics. And then 2 years after that, we moved from our Urbandale site to our West Des Moines location, and we added a whole psychiatry wing. So we have more of an integrated, like with health, biopsychosocial, spiritual is what we like to say, you know, kind of really taking into account what's going on most definitely spiritually, what's most definitely from a psychological, where's your head, your thought life at, but then also biologically, what have you inherited biologically, or what are you dealing with? Because that all mixes in to often, you know, why people are struggling in addition to social issues or all kinds of things. So 2018, Des Moines, Heartland, 2020, now Pella, and then psychiatry, and a new site in 2022. And I just am so in awe because we grew from me in 2017 to now we're over 40 team members.
Awesome.
And I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable how he works. And, you know, I didn't plan any of this, you know? I just knew that this was really important work and it's needed, and we got to keep moving forward with it. And still, there are just so many like hills and valleys along the way.
Yeah.
You know, I have, like, even yesterday, I had a awesome experience with a young gal I was working with, and then later on in the day, you know, some conflict within staff, and there's always something. So that's outside of our healthy realm of control. But knowing that I also can just hold it super loosely because it's all his.
Yeah.
You know? And anyway, that is in general my story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what was it like for you, just like trusting God? I always think of it as like the Abraham, you know, he went to a place where God, but he didn't know. How was it like for you trusting God through that experience?
It was scary.
Yeah.
But every time I call out to him, every time I allow myself to ask him for help, there still is that, like when I was a kid, that peace. It's almost him saying, trust me, you know? And then that one client's voice, who she's with Jesus now, but that one client, you know, rings in my head so often of, well, now, Heidi, you know, God is never late, but he is rarely early. Which is such a, you know, it's convicting to us, right?
Right.
I mean, sometimes I think he's real early, right? But it's all about his time.
Yeah.
You know, it's about his time. It's not my time. But I get to participate with him and know that he has better plans for me than I could have had for myself. And I think part of my like heart, since knowing the Lord in my own life and knowing that he's ultimately the healing source of all love, life, and wisdom. So when we're approaching, you know, when folks have mental health issues or physical issues, relational issues, continuing to help people to point them to him, and that he's always going to direct us toward life and what works well, because he's God and he made everything. It's been really awesome, because what brought me so close and excited to working for Pine Rest, for the organization in 2002, so long ago, was that they had this awesome mission of providing excellent Christ-centered services, mental health services, and their values were to live out Christian integrity, professional excellence, and compassion. And so that has been our ongoing. So for Heartland too, it's our mission is to provide excellent Christ-centered psychological services to our community so loved by God. And it's with still that Christian integrity, professional excellence, compassion. And then we added a couple more: team together and being warm and welcoming to everybody. So yeah, praise God, but it is his, and it's a mystery. I feel like that we're on this like every 2 years thing. So I don't know. We're at 2024. So I feel like maybe something is getting developed this year, but we'll see. Yeah.
I think most likely it is going to be developed. What I got from this is that God has always showed up for you.
Always
even
does.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but Lord, you showed up though. Like, hey, well, thank you, Lord. Like, so. You
got to be looking for him. I think I'm learning too. Like, you got to look. I mean, even from those butterflies, like if she wouldn't have said, which I'm glad she did, just be looking for what the Lord may have you see today. Yeah,
you got to look and believe and trust that he's going to come through for you,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, amazing.
That's right, Thomas. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me share my story.
We appreciate it. And for all those listeners listening out there, thank you for listening to The Witness Spot. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode and hope that this testimony has encouraged you to keep pressing on. Stay up to date with our latest episodes on the AON app, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. New episodes are released every week, so stay tuned for more content. Like, share, and comment. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Witness Spot.
The Witness Spot.